Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to install and set up the React Native Track Player module, and we're going to make this very simple little app. It's not the best looking app, but it gets you started with how to set up this module. And once you understand how to sort of use these basic functions, you'll then be able to go onto the React Native Track Player documentation and you'll be able to add any sort of functionality that you want. It'll be pretty intuitive once you understand how to do the basic stuff like play, pause and skip the track to the next one or the previous one. So that being said, let's get started. Okay then, so I've just ran npx react native init, and I called this project track player tutorial, so that's what I ran. So track player tutorial, and once you run that you'll get all these starter files here. And I've then cleared out this app.js file and then just created this little simple starter template. So we've imported React from React, we've imported style sheet and text from React Native, we've got our functional app component, which is just simply returning hello world, and then we've got our styles equal to stylesheet.create. We're going to put our styles in here soon, and we're just exporting the app at the bottom. Okay, so once we've done that, we then need to install the Track Player module. So if you go over to the React Native Track Player docs, you can see here we can just run npm install save React Native Track Player. So run that in your terminal. That'll take a few seconds, and then once we've done that, we'll boot up our app on the Android emulator. You can also, this code should also work on iOS as well, so it shouldn't be a problem for you. It should be cross-platform code. So let's just wait for that to do. Okay, so that took a while. So the next thing we want to do is we want to run our app on an emulator. So we're going to say npx react native run Android. You can also run this on iOS if that is the way you're inclined. So this takes a little bit of a while actually. Okay, so now our app is up and running. We can see here we've got a hello world up in the top left hand corner. The first thing we need to do is to register a service. So we're going to create a file in the root directory called service.js, and in this file we're going to import track player from React Native Track Player, and here we're going to export function, and we're going to add some event listeners in here. Okay, so we've got an event listener, and this is essentially allows the app to run in the background, I believe. So this remote play, if the app is sort of running in the background, you can get this sort of notification thing at the top, similar to how Spotify works, and it allows you to control the app from outside of the app itself. So we also want to copy this down, and we're going to add a remote pause event listener, and this file is required for the track player module to work. So now that's done, we need to go into our index file. So go into index.js, and in here we need to again import track player. And we then need to register this playback service that we've just created. So this is going to register it as soon as the app is mounted, essentially. So register playback service, and that's going to take a callback function, and in here we're going to require that file that we've just made. So /service.js. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. See, let's try reloading the app. Yep, still working. Okay, so let's close that down now and close this down because we're done here, and we're going to go into app.js. So first things first, let's import everything that we actually need for this app. So we're going to import, we're going to need a use effect hook, and we're also going to need, again, track player. And then from React Native we're going to need a style sheet text, a view, a touchable opacity, and a text and style sheet. So that's everything we're going to need for this project. Now next thing we want to do is define the tracks that we're going to be using. So I'm going to do that by creating a folder called tracks in the root, and I have got some I've got some tracks stored just on my desktop here, and I'm just going to simply drag those into this tracks folder. And you can see this is a .wav file, some little blues tune, and this is a little country tune. That's an MP3. So just to show you that different files, different audio files can work. So let's close those down, and now we need to define our tracks. So I'm going to say const tracks, and that's going to be equal to an array, and it's going to be an array of objects, so a sort of record set if you like. And I'm just going to give the first one an ID of 1. We need to define a URL, and this is where we can require our track. So I'm going to say ./tracks/blues.wav, or wave, I don't know how you say that. And then we're going to give it a title, and I'm going to call this one blues beat. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this down and just do the same thing for the country tune, the country track that we've got. So it's going to be ID 2, it's going to be country.mp3. So .mp3, and I'm going to call this one, just going to call it country tune. Okay, save that, and now we've defined our tracks. So next thing I want to do is I just want to define some options, okay, for the track player, and we can do that by calling the update options method on the track player object, and we can then add some options in here. So I'm just going to first of all define this stop with app as false, and this allows us to run the app in the background, I believe, and we need to give it some capabilities, and this is going to take an array, and here we can say track player dot capability play. So scroll down to that one, and I'm also going to give it the capability to pause. So we're going to say track player dot capability pause. Okay, so this is going to allow us to play and pause the tracks, and then we're going to define another option called compact capabilities. And this is the sort of compact notification. So this is going to show up, if I can drag this down. I don't know whether this is frozen. Acting very strangely. Give me 1 second, I'm just going to reload this app. Okay, so mobile development can be a massive pain in the arse. I cannot get the notification thing to scroll down, so I'll just ignore it for now. But basically, when you pull down the sort of notification banner at the top, you'll have the ability to play and pause tracks from that with this compact capabilities. So again, we're just going to copy this array here, because we're going to be able to pause and play from this banner. Okay, so that's that done. Now what I want to do is define our setup track player function. So I think first what I'll do is I'll define the useEffect hook, and this is going to run upon initial render. And to do that, to ensure that happens, we just put a empty array as the second argument. Not the most intuitive of things, but that basically means component did mount. If you're familiar with the old class components. So in here we're going to call a function called setup track player. Not that. Okay. And from this we're also going to return a function which is basically component will unmount, which means whenever the component, when the app is sort of closed down, we want to make sure that the track player is destroyed. So essentially, you know, tracks are not going to continue running when the app is closed down. Okay, so we can't find the setup track player function, and that's because we need to define it now. So I'm just going to define a function called setup track player, and that's going to be an asynchronous function. And we're just going to use some try catch blocks here, and we're going to catch the error and console.log it if we have a problem. So in this try block we're going to await track player.setup player. That one. Okay. And we're also going to await track player dot add tracks. So these are the tracks that we defined at the top right there. We're going to add them to the track player so that the track player can then play them. This is really acting strange today, but let's just carry on until it really is impossible to work with. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually add our JSX. So we're going to return a view container, and I'm just going to add the styles now, but actually define them afterwards. So I'm just going to say style equals styles dot let's see, container, and that's just going to center everything to the middle. And then again I'm going to have another view, and I'm going to call this one styles.row, because this is going to be like our first row of buttons. So this is going to be our pause and play button. So in here we're going to have a touchable opacity. Now I'm using touchable opacities because buttons in React Native are difficult to style, so it's better to use touchable opacities with a sort of text child. So let's do that, and then here I'm going to give it a styles dot btn for button, and then for the text I'm going to give it a styles dot text. So this first button is going to be our pause button, so let's do that. And now we can see here we've got pause there, so I think it's working okay. And what I want to do now is just define, actually I'm going to continue doing this until, and then we'll do the styles afterwards. So let's copy down these touchable opacity, this touchable opacity, the text in the middle, and this is going to be our play button. So let's change the text to play, and then we're going to have another row. So copy that, Shift Alt down, and we're going to have a previous button and a next button to play the previous and next tracks on the list. So now we've done that, let's just add the style in. Some very simple styles. So we're going to have a container, and we're going to say flex of 1, and that's going to make sure it takes up the whole screen. We're going to justify content to the center, align items to the center, and we're going to give it a background color of black. Save that, and there we go. So now we want to style our buttons. So BTN, we're going to give this a background color of a sort of red color, so FF0044. We're going to give it a padding of 15, border radius of 10, a margin of 10, and a width of 160. Save that, and there we go there. You can see that. And next we want to style the text within these touchable opacity things. So oops. I'm going to give this a font size of 30. Colour, let's give it a colour of white. And let's text align those to the centre. Save that. Lovely jubbly. Looking good so far. And now we're just going to give the row some styling, so we're going to say flex direction, and it's going to be row, of course, and we're going to give those each row a margin bottom just to separate them a little bit. And there we go, there's the styling done. Now we're just left to do the functionality. So these aren't doing anything at the moment, so we just need to now give these touchable opacities, which are essentially the buttons, we need to give them an on press event listener. So on press, we're going to put it equal to some JavaScript. We're going to call a callback function, and I'm just going to put the I'm going to call the method just within the JSX, because I don't think it's just one line. I think it's better than writing whole new functions perhaps. So this is the pause, so we're going to say trackplayer.pause, and I'm just going to copy this now and put it in this is the play button here. So on press we want to play and go down, so let's see, and then we're going to go down here and we're going to say skip to previous, and we're going to go down here and say skip to next. Not that one, skip to next. Okay. So now I believe that should work. So let's see if it does. Play. Yep. Hopefully you can hear the play. That is our blues track, which is track 1. And then if we press pause, we can see the track pauses. And I apologise, this emulator is acting very peculiar today, so just ignore that. Play again, it plays again from where we were. Press next. Does it play our country tune? Yes, it does. Fantastic. So let's press previous, and it goes back to the blues track, so great. And that is it. So also, it will work in the background, but I can't get the the app to go in the background because the emulator, as I say, is playing up. But you'll take my word, normally you can sort of pull down a little menu at the top here, and it'll allow you to still control the tracks from outside of the app. So you'll just have to take my word on that. Hopefully it works for you. And that is it, guys. If that was helpful, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.